Fans, we are back live on the Cheap Heat Productions Network with the flagship show, Ryder's Rasslin Review. Have a lot to talk about this week, as usual, it seems, but we're pleased to welcome back to the show a man who is constantly busy serving the public welfare and meeting the needs of all his constituents. Maurice, welcome back. And of course, it is the Big Bad Wolf Show. So, Mr. Ryder, welcome. Let's get right into it, shall we? In terms of, I guess everybody's talking about the shocking passing of Sabu, Terry Brunk, the hardcore legend, a man that Mr. Ryder, we just saw on May the 3rd. Want to start off by getting your thoughts on seeing him. Seemed to be enjoying himself, having a good time, and any encounters previously you would have had with him on the Indies.
Never spent too much time with Sabu. We ran in two different crowds, but never heard a bad word about Sabu in my life. I know he had his issues, but he wasn't making it other people's issues. You know, he was just a good dude. He could have his own extracurricular activities. He never bothered anybody. Good guy. And we just saw him. He's a gentleman. He's always been a gentleman. I don't know one person that ever had heat with him, except I know he didn't like test. Shocking. And that was about it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's really nice that since his passing, social media has been overflowing with love for Sabu, and he seems to be getting a lot of the credit that seemed to be, the fans that saw him and knew his legacy recognized what an innovator and a pioneer he was, from using his body as he did with a devil may care attitude. And Bubba Ray Dudley even put him over as the guy that started the table spots and should get credit for the table spots. And my goodness, talk about injuries the guy had. He was really a machine and quite active up until recent years, but had a last match about 3 weeks ago for GCW, which we'll talk about in a minute. But Maurice, I know you met Sabu and saw him work live. What were your thoughts?
I seen him, it was probably 10 years ago now when he came to Dublin, when OTT Wrestling was kind of starting to bring in some imports from the States. And I remember he'd done a spot, I think it was a 6-man tag match he was in, where he landed on the guardrail. And I remember talking to him that night, and he had a pint of Guinness in his hand. He was looking for some hash. And he was able to show me his bruised ribs, and 2 of them were broken. And that was like an hour after the show. No big deal for him. He was in the pub having a good time. Very mellow guy, though. There was no ego about him. He just blended into the crowd and mixed with everyone. We had a conversation with him, and he was very, very nice and very approachable. So, nice guy, in my opinion. I only met him once. I interviewed him as well on the channel, and we had some funny exchanges there. He was telling me to use Super Genie's Skype at the time. He's like, yeah, log into Super Genie's Skype. She's super sexy. Little funny things like that. Nice guy.
Yeah, I first met him years ago as well, and several times thereafter, usually at Cauliflower Alley in Las Vegas, and I found him to be extremely approachable and definitely, the guy. I think his legacy, it will go down as being, again, a guy that without Sabu, there wouldn't have been ECW to the heights that it came. It's just unfortunate he never got that big major company run. On Ringside Riffs with my partner Angel Medina on Saturday, he compared him to New Jack in so much as, he had a couple of cups of coffee in WCW and WWE, but wasn't ever, he didn't fit that mold to stay there for a very long time. So I know people are speculating about his cause of death. I'm not going to repeat that here because I think it's classless. There's no official cause of death yet, so we'll have to wait for that. But the world lost a real icon, and condolences to his fans, friends, and family. Now, Maurice, let's talk about this SmackDown Dublin
Yeah.
debacle and all the issues that you had with that. But first, you shared a screenshot of some of the on sale prices. I'll throw that up and have you comment on it if you don't mind.
Yeah, I think I can't really see now on the phone. It goes up to what, 600? No, sorry.
896.75 euros.
And that is for row B.
Yeah.
So I don't know what row A was, but look, I was in contact with a couple of friends this morning that were interested in going to the show. And there was a problem with the WWE pre-sale. Nobody got the email in time. So the tickets went on sale at 10 a.m. and nobody had the WWE code. So there was another 3 Arena code that people got, which is where it's going to be. But that code wouldn't activate on Ticketmaster because you had to click the link, which nobody knew about as well. So the Ticketmaster account wouldn't open unless you clicked out of the text message that 3 would send. And in between all this, anyway, I eventually got it going, maybe quarter past 10. Tickets were on sale at 10. I kept getting €600, €300. I just kept putting them back into the basket and refreshing. Then I had some council meetings. And then after about 2 hours, I came back out, refreshed again. One came up for 130. I don't even know where it is. It's probably in the back row. I haven't checked yet. But I said 130. Okay, I'll go. And then a guy that got in before me is sitting behind me and paid more. Dynamic pricing and all. I don't know what the hell is going on, to be honest. But the general release will be Friday, and I expect an absolute shit show. But what I'd imagined they'd done today was sold from the front. So sold the most expensive and worked their way back. So by the time I went on, I could get a slightly, well, probably a lot cheaper ticket than a lot of people did. But in terms of bringing the family, it's a non-runner. Even the wife said, no, I'm not going to go, you go. Normally she'd go to things like that and we'd have a few drinks and whatever, but she said, no, it's not worth that money. You just go yourself if you can get a normal ticket. So I did. I paid 130. I'll check on the map on my laptop where I am, but I'm probably way back. But nothing but given out from people today across every fucking platform there is out here. People in the groups, people on Twitter. If you type into Twitter, WWE Dublin, you'll get a vibe of what's being talked about here.
Are people complaining about the prices, or is it kind of par for the course now with all the publicity about how ridiculous they are now? Oh, I think Maurice froze.
Maurice froze. We lost Maurice.
We'll kick him out and
Ireland has gone dark.
What do you think about that business model? And it kind of bleeds nicely into the next story about this. Let's charge just as absolute much as we can. I mean, it's great when they're selling out for now, but that's got to have an end date to it where people won't be able to. And he's trying to come back. People won't. There you are. He's back. Won't be able to afford. Could you finish that thought, and then I'll get Maurice's reaction?
I think they can continue this run for a long, long time. There's no competition. You have no competition. You can charge whatever you want.
True.
Right?
And now he's gone.
One of the biggest company in the world. Certainly, AEW is not drawing flies. So, what are you going to do if you want to see CM Punk and Roman Reigns? You're going to pay them.
I think, though, eventually it's going to. I mean, wrestling has always had a strong family-based appeal, and as Maurice said, there even a ticket way back in the nether regions is about, for conversion, give or take, about $200 some odd dollars US. You would think when families aren't able to come anymore that it's eventually going to hurt them.
I would think so, but UFC owns it now, and they only care about the stock. So the only thing they care about is their stock going up. So they don't care if Maurice goes without his kids. They just want the tickets are going to sell out, especially when they go to Ireland because they never go. So they might as well take advantage of it. That's what they're doing. And I listen, from a revenue perspective, I understand completely. But from a fan perspective, I can see it being a hindrance.
Mm-hmm. Maurice, I wanted to ask you, now that you're on audio only but still with us, what are there any complaints about? I know it's such a rare thing that a live event happens in Ireland. Are there any complaints from the fans about these ticket prices yet? I guess
in Ireland.
I guess we don't have them. Anyway, we'll get back. We'll circle back to that eventually. But this is an interesting news item. WWE has significantly slashed the number of live events it holds, and the TKO Chief Operating Officer Mark Shapiro recently made some comments that are indicative of their mindset. And I'll just read you the quote. "We cut those house shows down to now we're doing 200 events a year. We cut them 75%, the number of house shows that we do. We feel that's a good place to be and continue to prune as we go. WWE has tremendous upside on global partnerships, tremendous upside on ticket pricing," meaning it's going to go up more. That's my commentary. "Tremendous upside on site fees, dynamic pricing," as Maurice was talking about, "yield management, all areas we're really focusing and pushing in on as related to live events. As you saw in our first quarter, our margins significantly expanded as it relates to WWE live events." And then he made the comment, this is a really exciting opportunity and place to be. How in the world are they going to increase ticket prices more? That's what I got out of that. We're gonna create more demand and we're gonna up the ticket prices. Like how much in the States you're looking at? What for WrestleMania? 20, 14,000, 15. I know what you're saying, supply and demand, no competition, but my God, that's got to give way sometime soon.
Well, eventually it'll give away. It'll break. The dam will break. But listen, they just had New York and New Jersey just gave them $9 million just to hold an event for SummerSlam. And that event's going to bring in $90 million for the city. So it's a good investment for the city. It's going to fill up every hotel. It's going to create jobs, every restaurant, taxes. So it makes sense. If you can work less and make more, I get it. And, it doesn't burn out the guys. You don't have as many injuries. You limit your liability. It's actually not a bad business model, but it's not fair. I mean, NFL tickets aren't that much.
No, that was what I was going to say. About the only competing, that's not a word, competitor pricing that I can think of.
You can use it as a word in Canada.
Right on. We use different words. Is UFC itself. So this is clearly something that was predicted a while ago by some commentators that, they're going to take on that UFC model and basically cater to the uber rich, I guess, eventually. Or I personally will never go to another WWE live event. I won't pay that much. It doesn't make sense to me, having gone to WWE events, in the recent past and paid like $200 for WrestleMania seats, for example.
Yeah, now you're paying $200 for the popcorn at the concession stand.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It seems to.
And I don't know what their deal is with TV, but I mean, they got to be. They're making bank at this point. I mean, they were just mocking AEW recently that anyone can run a business in the red. This is what Tony Khan said. Well, not Tony, whatever WWE's Khan is. He was just hammered AEW for losing money nonstop. I understand the philosophy, and I use it in my own business, so I get it. But it's not fair to the fans, and you're gonna move people away. Vince loved the A, B, and C house show. He'd have three of them within a couple hundred miles of each other.
Yeah,
he'd have Undertaker here, he'd have Hogan here, he'd have Warrior here, and then he'd get more fans. But I guess they feel like they don't need that because they got Netflix live every week, and maybe people just don't need to go see a show anymore.
Yeah, and commentators, Vince Russo being one of them, have suggested that McMahon would never gouge his fan base to this extent. And it also appears that, in the eyes of some of the critics, that they're not really trying that hard to present the best product that they can on television, because everything's guaranteed, everything's sewn up.
I will say that the pay-per-view the past weekend was one of the best ones they've had recently, but far better than WrestleMania. I think Cena and Orton were great, especially Orton. He carried the whole thing. And Raw wasn't bad. I mean, too many girl matches, but I don't think it was a bad Raw. Vince Russo said something interesting the other day, and I have to agree with him. And I can't believe I'm saying that. I don't think Triple H knows how to get anyone over. I think he's right.
Yeah.
He has. I don't know how he doesn't know this, because H got himself over, but they don't get anyone over, and maybe they don't want to.
That's something that that has been said too, that they still have this mindset that, DX is in charge of the company now. You've got Road Dogg and you've got old Michael Hayes there and Pritchard, but with DX on the company, none of these kids are going to overshadow us and what we were able to accomplish, which is just insane.
Well, they always said we're never going to have another John Cena. I don't think they want another John Cena, because John Cena can do whatever he wants to do, including show up after 10 years and win the title at WrestleMania. So I guess when you have guys like that and Roman, they can do whatever they want, and they don't want to create that. It's the only thing I can think of. But you got Malachi Black, who came back, who couldn't get over the first time, and now he comes back in the same character doing the same thing. Why would you think it would work the second time?
And did he not complain about his match, said he didn't like it?
That's what he said it was, what he said, it was a 50-50 match, which makes sense. If you're coming back and you're going to be debuting, you just massacre somebody. Even me, they would have me go massacre somebody, and then they would put me up against Godfather, who would make Godfather look stronger. Right? So I'd go kill a local guy, right, in 2 minutes, and then I'd come out for Sunday Night Heat or Shotgun, and I'd wrestle Godfather Test, and then they would beat me. Now the audience there looked like they beat somebody. Now they're getting on. But they're all 50-50 matches with freaking all this shit, and it's not going to work. They don't. The last thing they want to do is bring in all the AEW guys and turn it into AEW.
Yes. Yeah, AEW made that mistake, didn't they? First.
Every match is the Super 8 tournament from Jim Kepner. Every match. And it just gets old.
And no coherent long-term stories. You talked about another one of the big cash deals this news cycle being WWE cut a deal with I guess it's New Jersey to have SummerSlam there. They paid them, I guess the exact amount is $7.12 million in fees, and they're saying that this is although it's taxpayer money in a corporation of some nature that's actually doing the paying, they figure it's going to generate $80.7 million in economic return. I know it was subject to approval by some form of New Jersey Department of Community Affairs or whatnot, but isn't that a little controversial to be using public dollars to attract an event, or is this something that, given the return, is acceptable?
The return's acceptable. What's going to happen? And listen, they all do it. Every big city bids to get WrestleMania. Vince McMahon didn't pick where WrestleMania went. Whoever gave him the most gold got WrestleMania, because it brings in so much money to the area. It's well worth the investment.
So
unlike booking Ric Flair for a convention hoping for a return.
So when is WrestleMania coming to Saudi Arabia?
SummerSlam's a guarantee.
When's WrestleMania coming to Saudi Arabia? Well, there's chatter online that that TKO are looking to sell it to the Saudis to begin with. So take that for what you will.
I know London are putting in a lot of work to try to get WrestleMania, which would be cool.
I think London can handle WrestleMania.
Yeah, I don't think it matters now that the programming is on a streaming service like with before. Like, we'd always worry about buy rates and stuff like that. I really don't think the time zones matter anymore in terms of where WrestleMania goes. That could be one of the maybe good things that come from this.
Maurice, before you had to duck out, I wanted to ask you about are you seeing any chatter online complaining about the ticket prices? I know it's a rare event and etc., but yeah, are people just rolling with it, or what are you hearing?
I know this is the third time now you've asked me this, but my laptop melted and everything, and then my internet went down, but here we are. But yeah, a lot of people are annoyed but not surprised. And if you type in, as I said, to Twitter, type in WWE Dublin later on and have a look at the threads, and you'll kind of see what the vibes are. But yet again, people are saying, once in a lifetime opportunity. I paid $600 or whatever.
How many seats does that arena have in it? How many does it hold?
11,000.
11,000. So they're gonna walk with millions of dollars.
It's pretty small in comparison to most arenas.
Baltimore Arena doesn't. I think that holds 8,000. I mean, they do some smaller arenas because they fill up quick and they look good on TV.
Well, this will be the first time that a broadcast has ever come from Ireland on WWE. So I'm happy to be there, but I'm also happy that I didn't pay €600 or €700. I'm happy wherever I am up in the rafters. I'll have a Jameson and I'll just be fine.
You'll be good.
Well, we'll look forward to your report from that event for sure, given the history-making nature. Hopefully, the alcohol is reasonably priced. Usually, they're not at those events, but maybe they'll take mercy on the folks that paid to be there. Did you catch this story about, speaking of backlash, Ryder, Big E said that there's a double standard for female wrestlers. He said on the post-backlash show that for a lot of women who are in their 30s, people are asking, are you going to wind it up? When are you ready to retire? But it feels like 75% of the male side is in their late 30s, mid 40s. So let's give the women the same honor and same grace as well. Meanwhile, Becky Lynch, Ireland's pride and joy, had an excellent match. She's, at the ripe old age of 38. I laugh about that. But do you think that's a viable comment? Or honestly, I don't hear the discussion of age as much anymore as I used to on either side of the gender divide.
I think it's a ridiculous, stupid thing to even point out. It's an immature statement by a very good guy. I've never heard a bad word about Big E. But no one wants to watch 50-year-old women beat each other up. And I don't care who it is. With the exception of Mae Young working Bubba Ray Dudley through tables, no one wants to see this. And he can sit there and say it all day long for equality. No, there's too many women on TV. Their matches are boring. Their bodies do not hold up like men. So, no, 40, they're done. And sometimes, this may shock him, women want to have kids. So
yeah, I suppose it depends on how much money that these particular women are generating in terms of merchandise and different things like that as well.
Yeah, it just seemed to me to be like Mr. Ryder said, something that was really not seems to be a non-issue. Like ultimately, female talents have a lesser lifespan in the ring because they're not 250 or 60 pounds, and their bodies break down a lot easier. Meanwhile, men, as we saw, on May the 3rd, some can still go into their 60s. So I think it's kind of an apples to oranges.
I think Big E just wants to be the nice guy that everyone likes in this PC world. I think Ryder, that he may be a blue voter.
I can guarantee he's a blue voter.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe not anymore. Things are looking pretty good in the world. I think they may be changing their tune.
They're not looking good here.
First of all, why would you even? What kind of grown man sits there and that's what comes out of his head? There's not enough 40-year-old women wrestling.
Because he thinks that's what people want to hear.
Who?
He'll get himself over with the PC crowd, and look at how much of an advocate he is, et cetera, et cetera. But
all 12 of them, all 12 of the PC crowd that are left.
Yeah, unless you're talking about Canada.
It's a young man's game. Some of these veterans, God bless Sheamus, who can still go. He's got spinal stenosis and everything. But
he's in great shape.
To wind up like that. That's his plan.
Yeah, I hope they figure out a way of getting all these Irish guys on the SmackDown show rather than this brand split bullshit. Just put them all there.
Just nothing.
That would be smart. They haven't announced any of the matches yet, I take it, right?
No, they announced it's John Cena's last time to go to Dublin. That's the sell.
Interesting.
Well,
Speaking of...
I would bet you, and if they're smart, it'll be John Cena versus Sheamus in the main event of that show if he's going to wrestle, which would be good which he would do for Sheamus because they're very good friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be an excellent choice. Speaking of John... I guess, and take this with a grain of salt, this was the headline. I guess some WWE fans provided some backlash over his comments about Vince McMahon. He apparently got significant fan criticism for stating he still loves the former chairman, even in light of allegations of sexual abuse, sex trafficking, all that jazz. Nothing about the pooping here. But I guess he made those remarks leading up to WrestleMania 41, and he was interviewed by Us Weekly and commented that, everybody's entitled to their opinion, just like I'm entitled to have an emotional connection to somebody. Is this yet more evidence that influence of cancel culture, that death grip that it had on folks expressing opinions of a quote-unquote controversial nature? I don't think McMahon's been found guilty of anything yet, but aside from that, is this evidence that that may be waning a bit?
It's dying on the vine. I can't wait till it's totally dead. Hopefully by the end of this year, they all go climbing under rocks and never come back out again. It's absurd. And I'm going to say it now, I love Vince McMahon too. The man was nothing but good to me, as was his wife, and his daughter, and his son. I don't care what he does in the bedroom, and I don't care who he does it with. The guy's a great guy. How many Make-A-Wish kids are grateful for Vince McMahon? But you're going to tell he's a monster. He's a monster. Donated millions and millions to charity. He's just a monster. These people get ashamed of themselves. And John Cena, another really nice guy.
Yeah. Vince McMahon made John Cena... He's bigger than Roman Reigns. He's the last big star. Vince McMahon made John Cena a multi-platinum rap album artist. Vince McMahon made John Cena a movie star in The Marine, and you see what he's done since then on. Of course, he's going to have emotional attachment to him, and I'm glad he did speak his mind on it, because a lot of people we talk to, Jack, there's very few people, if you look back over the last few years, who've actually said bad things about Vince McMahon. Very few. 2 women, in fact, and that was it. Nobody else has said a bad word about him.
Good point. And that whole deal about the pooping, I don't think that was established that was he was 78 and maybe it was just, something that happens when you get up there. There's no evidence that was an intentional act. And I think people need to realize that too.
I've got a question for you guys that's not on the script. You know what this new Hulk Hogan, Eric Bischoff, amateur wrestling kind of deal?
Yes.
Do you think there's a chance that Brock Lesnar could be involved in that?
I would say no.
Okay.
I think Brock's locked in pretty tight with WWE. He's still getting a paycheck. Brock's going to do whatever he wants to do, and when it's time to come back, he'll come back. When there's somebody that he wants to wrestle. But I can't see him wanting to get into some especially not with Hulk Hogan and Bischoff. Nothing against either one of them myself, but that thing's going to be dead in 6 months.
I watched them on Ariel Hawani earlier, and they said that there's a lot of heavy investment going into this. So that's why I was just curious to know your thoughts.
I don't know who would invest in something that.
It's a sports company.
UFC. I don't see it being. It's just Greco-Roman wrestling, isn't it?
Well, they got the idea from Jake Shannon and King of Connecticut, who started Shoot Pro several years ago, about 2 years ago. And the concept is everything leading up to the actual match itself is pro wrestling style promos, storylines, but the outcome in the ring is a shoot.
We shall see.
I'll watch it. I'll give it a go. And they've also said today that there's 2 major streaming services that are considering it at the moment.
Well, that's where they're going to make their money, right? So they get a big contract. If it goes bust, Hogan and Bischoff make a big payday. And listen, I hope they do well and make a bunch of money, and I hope the fighters make money and don't get hurt. I don't see the broad appeal for it, but it's not my sport. Maybe there is a huge appeal for it. I don't know.
I don't think so, but you can see where Lesnar's name, where you could come up with that question, because Hogan did a couple of interviews, I think, including the Hawani one, which we have a different story from, where he mentioned that he was in the ring against guys like Brock Lesnar, Kurt Angle, and then he called Shelton Benjamin Shelton twice, and that created some feelings.
He's done that a few times.
I'm going to address that real quick. I can promise you he did that on purpose. I can promise you he did that on purpose for clicks. No doubt in my mind.
Well, Sheldon didn't appreciate it, to say the least. Sheldon dropped the Will Smith line on him and said, "Keep my name out of your effing mouth." So I don't know. Maybe they're doing something. Who knows? Maybe it'll translate to the Hurt Syndicate something on AEW. But didn't get over with him, at least.
Have you guys had the pleasure of talking to Shelton Benjamin?
No, I'd love to interview him though. Yeah.
I met him down in Les Thatcher's. Les Thatcher's was an FC, whatever it's called, in Cleveland. We were at a casino. The first
Heartland
time
Wrestling.
I met him and Brock, actually, and a gentleman from the get-go, and he might be the best athlete in the history of WWE.
Yep.
That dude can jump backwards to the top rope.
And that memorable Sweet Chin music he took as well.
He can jump backwards to the top rope at 260 pounds.
Yeah.
Never seen anyone who can do that.
Should have had a world title run with a mouthpiece as a manager, but because I know his promos, they didn't. They weren't well regarded. But I agree, he was a fantastic wrestler. Still is, actually. Next story is interesting. We all know, some wrestlers in 2025 that think, bleeding is cool and a good thing. But TNA Wrestling recently informed its roster that it would not allow excessive bleeding in the ring. This Fightful Select outfit has said that TNA felt that they needed to implement the new rules because things had gone overboard, and it would mean more if it happened sporadically. Should they allow wrestlers to do it on, selective occasions? And another reason why they're trying to cut back on that is because they're trying to, cut back on or get a broadcast deal, sell their rights, and it would make it easier to sell. Now, classic TNA, we're talking in, the fairgrounds in Nashville and in Orlando, there was a lot of blood there. Sabu had some, fantastic matches with Abyss, those Monsters Ball matches where there was blood all over the place. I think the use of blood, though, when you're, just working in indie, for some reason you decide you want to bleed because, you like to do that. I think that's an abuse. There's probably a place for blood in selective applications and, of course, hard way. But what are your thoughts, guys?
You don't need blood. There's too much blood. Kids, your parents, the first thing they do is cover the kids' eyes. They don't want their kids watching that. You're not going to build stars bleeding all over the place. You do it every now and then. Steve Austin, Bret Hart, great spot in the blood. If Steve Austin was bleeding in every match, that wouldn't be special, right? So moments like that make it special. Every match, you're just Sabu. Nothing against Sabu, right? But like Bloodbath, every match. The original Sheik was gigging all the time. Never got over.
Yeah, you have to remember as well what brackets they're kind of under now as well, and it sounds very much like the policy that WWE have, so it makes sense.
Yeah, it can also be something used as a crutch. One particular guy that I know that just likes to bleed for the heck of it, and it's always a crutch to avoid putting more effort into a match. I think very, very selectively there's a place for it, but it's like the law of diminishing returns. You do it every match. It's ridiculous.
The best, hands down, the best bleeding and gig that I've seen since Steve Austin was Mariah May and time was Toni Storm with the shoe. That made beautiful sense. No one's seen a girl gig like that. That was shocking, and now look at her.
Yeah.
Number one star in the country, or in the company.
Rock Swan with Cody was good.
Yes.
Rock Swan with Cody was good as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Next story is WWE LFG coach Mickie James did an interview talking about pro wrestling's lack of job security, and she says, people get into a false sense of security when they're in different spots, but then she said everyone is replaceable. The machine will keep going. Those gears will keep grinding without you. She said that on Busted Open Radio. That's the single hardest struggle for anyone in the business, especially when it's your dream and you want this. You never feel secure in that spot. You always feel like at any given moment there's a shiny new toy, or there's this or there's that. It doesn't matter how hard you work or whatever. Yes, those things pay off, but at the same time, I think we're all insecure in the sense that we can all be replaced tomorrow, and it's no problem, right? The business has proven that any star can be made tomorrow, and then that one can be not forgotten about, but whatever. So I guess that's kind of she's speaking some truth there, and it would explain some of the paranoia in the business, would it not?
Well, listen, I've said this before. It's only a TV show, man. There's only so many spots. So yeah, of course you should be worried about your spot. So step it up, stay in shape, listen, keep your mouth shut, keep your ego in check, and you'll be there. Like, listen, I was never John Cena, but I was there for 8 years. I kept my mouth shut. Just do what they ask you to do. Miz, he's not worried about his spot. You know why? Because everything they give him, he pushes as hard as he can. Doesn't complain. Yeah. So if you're worried about your spot, it's because you're either a complainer or you're freaking being a little lazy.
Yeah. I think a good point to make as well, like we like there's two examples of someone that goes into the business, Jack, and we've seen these people. The people that have a backup plan and the people that don't. And a lot of people were smart when they were thinking about leaving the business, particularly guys in the 90s that we've talked to, they always had a backup plan and they always had something to fall back into. Then there's other examples of guys that have no backup plan. They fall into a dark place and everything. But I think that everyone that's entering or has entered the business, they should know that it doesn't live forever, unless you're maybe a Hulk Hogan or a Steve Austin for appearances and stuff like that. But you can't rely on it forever.
Such a small percentage of guys even get the opportunity to step in a WWE ring. And most people that step in a WWE ring step in it once and they never get to step in it again. Look at that. That's a lot of people that don't get any further than that. And that's almost impossible to do. So have a backup plan. Listen. Well, Jerry Briscoe. God bless Jerry Briscoe. Always told you the truth, even if you didn't want to hear it. I always had the backup plan. I never relied on that.
Yeah.
And other guys, Simon Diamond, he never relied on it. He always had a backup plan. He was with TNA for years, ECW, TNA. Now he's with NWA, but you know what? He's still got a career on the outside of that too. a lot of these guys just think they're all going to be John Cena, and that's the life they're going to live. And then it hits them in the face when they're 35 years old that they are poor and they have no skill set. So they have to watch themselves.
Yeah, I think that's why The Wrestler, the movie with Mickey Rourke, got a lot of criticism because it portrayed, a side of some of the guys that don't have backup plans, that hang on too long, and they're next thing you know, they made all the money in the 80s, and then it's in the years on, and they're living in a van. But I think your point, Mr. Ryder, is a very good one. I believe it was Joey Mercury who said, "Never be afraid to shut the fuck up and stay small." A lot of these younger kids, and not to overgeneralize, but got a lot to say about everything. And there's something to be said, a great deal to be said, about flying under the radar and just doing as you're told, because you're not that over.
You cannot be more over than the business, right? Like anywhere you go, like a Rock, but not the Rock at WrestleMania. Who's more over than him? I don't even think he's on the board anymore.
I think he is. There's a lot of chatter about that still, which we'll go into next time too. It seems to be got more turns than a soap opera between him and Triple H. But our last story of the week is about Hogan, and this is an interesting one. He was talking on Ariel Helwani's show about when he was booed in January at Raw, the Raw debut on Netflix. And I'll just read you his quote. I'll see if you guys can make any heads or tails of it. He goes, well, they're still nipping at my heels. I can go out there and get booed. That was my last time I was in LA. I was Hollywood Hogan with a black beard and doing the bad guy thing, which how many years ago was that? But anyway, I can go out there and get booed in LA, or The Rock can get booed in LA, or John Cena can get booed in LA. When I get booed, there's a whole different reaction media-wise. For some reason, I've laid some type of groundwork that people are still interested in what I'm doing. During the 80s, it was a situation where everybody was knocking me. Everybody was trying to knock me off the top spot. I'll trade that for not being on the bottom of the card, you know what I'm saying, or being at the bottom of the pile of life. For me, it's just part of the territory. It's like, when you get booed and you get 3.2 billion engagements, I guess he's saying, on social media, and you rock the whole world in LA, and with that much interaction there was on the internet, I'll take it. So that's a pretty predictable spin by the Hulkster, wouldn't you say?
Talk about looking on the bright side.
Exactly.
You know what? I'm gonna give Hogan. People can say what they want about Hulk Hogan. I actually personally like Hulk Hogan. He'll spin some tall tales with you, but I don't think he's a bad guy at all. He's funny, and who booed him? I mean, really, the left out in California. Okay, they booed him because maybe he's a Trump supporter. Who cares?
I think it's highly hypocritical booing Hulk Hogan and cheering the Undertaker. If indeed it is on political beliefs, which it is, like, let's be honest.
Maybe, right?
What do you think though about the fact that he's kind of making he's taking his own spin on it, but he's kind of making a good point that at least he didn't go out there and there was silence, boos, cheers, whatever. It shows that there's engagement there. I guess he's making a valid point there.
With the new company with Bischoff coming on stream, he can't really come out and say, "Yeah, it's because I'm a Trump supporter." He's just got to need to kind of go easy for a while, slot into this new business venture, and just see what happens.
I think it's hilarious that he got booed, and everybody else was like, "Thought the sky was falling." I thought it was great, and I guarantee he laughed about it in the back. He wasn't upset. What's he care? He's Hulk Hogan, And all these people that if they really boo him. If he walks into a restaurant, they're sitting there, all the ones that were booing him and hating him, they're going to have, exactly. I got his autograph. Don't tell anybody.
And then try and sell that on eBay or something. Yeah. So I think he's pointing out a salient factor that whether you like him, whether you hate him, you still You still put them over by acknowledging them, right?
Yeah.
Any reaction is a good reaction.
Absolutely. Well, we've blown through a number of big news items this week. I'm sure there'll be more next week. But any final thoughts, guys, on what we've covered this week, or anything else?
First off, not one mention of my shirt has been made this entire show. I wore this specifically for you two, and nothing.
You're
Nobody.
looking good. You're always looking good. That's the deal.
Very
We're the
nice.
schlucks here.
I'm gonna mail one of these to Maurice. I want to see him wear this at SmackDown.
I've got two more things to say. The first one is Ahmed Johnson and Ron Simmons have made peace this week. I don't know if you've seen that.
I have
that,
not.
yes.
Is there an interview?
No, there's just
I don't think
pictures
so.
of them
It's just
together.
a photo op.
So Ahmed is burying the hatchet with people.
Never thought that would happen, correct?
Yeah, I think we should get him back on to talk about that.
I agree. I'll reach out.
I don't know if Jack saw this when we were at Philly last week. There was a young guy named Cujo, and you're going back 30 years. And I vividly remember treating Cujo like dirt for no reason at all at a show. And 30 years later, I saw him the first time I was walking over, and I walked over and apologized to him. And Mike Keener was standing next to me. You weren't there yet, Jack. You guys were getting a cheesesteak or something. First guy that was apologize to him. So, sometimes as you get older and more mature, you realize maybe you were the asshole. So maybe I didn't realize he was the asshole.
Life is short.
Yeah. The second thing I wanted to say was on Backlash last week during the Becky Lynch match, another Irish wrestler appeared. He's Lyra's boyfriend. And they refer to him as fiance. That's her fiance in the front row. But the guy is a wrestler. The guy is one of the most booked wrestlers across the world, and he's after relocating now to Orlando this week. And he got a lot of abuse online. People were saying he looked like a dork, this and that. I just want to say this guy's going to be amazing. CM Punk shared him out yesterday. Another Irish guy is on the way. LJ Cleary.
Looking forward to seeing him.
What a hot territory, if you will, that Ireland is. And speaking of hot, I want to encourage the fans, if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel, Cheap Heat Productions. You may have noticed we're burning the midnight oil, supplying the content, fast and furious, much more to come. And you'll only stay on top of that if you subscribe and hit the notification button. And you'll also know when we do this show every week, the flagship show, Ryder's Rasslin Review. Until next week, on behalf of Maurice and the Big Bad Wolf, I'm Jack Kilby. Catch you next time. Thank you for watching this video. Please give it a like if you enjoyed it. Be sure to follow us on all social media platforms at Cheap Heat Productions. Don't